about the surge in hate crimes against Muslim Americans, notably since Hamas' October 7th attack in Israel, followed by an armed conflict between Israel and the Palestinian militant group. The anti-Semitic and anti-Islamic incidents are being reported across the United States.
It is day 3 of the Gaza Truce. Hamas has released the third batch of hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. Israel says 13 Israelis and 4 foreigners have been released. 4-year-old American is among the hostages released. This is a part of the deal agreed upon by Israel and Hamas after hectic negotiations. Here's a roundup of all that has happened today. Per the latest update, Israeli forces confirmed 13 Israelis and 4 foreigners have been handed over to Red Cross by Hamas. This included 1 Russian hostage who was handed over to International Red Cross. Earlier, Egypt received lists of 13 Israelis and 39 Palestinian prisoners expected to be released. Egyptian officials also say the truce is proceeding without any roadblocks, adding that 128 trucks crossed from Egypt to Gaza, including 2 fuel trucks and 2 with gas for cooking. The wartime Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited Gaza for the first time since the war began. Israeli leader engaged with the soldiers on the front line while asserting that Israel will continue until it wins.
אני פה להגיד לחברים כאן, הלוחמים כאן, שאומרים לי את אותם הדברים, ואני חוזר ואומר את זה לכם, אזרחי ישראל. אנחנו ממשיכים עד הסוף, עד הניצחון.
Israeli Agency for Civilian Coordination with the Palestinians earlier released a video showing 8 trucks going towards northern Gaza ahead of the exchange. The United Nations is currently leading the deployment of dozens of humanitarian aid trucks to Gaza. Essentials such as food, water, shelter, equipment, medical supplies, as well as 6 ambulances are being deployed to the besieged strip. Earlier, the slow pace of aid had caused a delay in the transfer of a second batch of hostages. Amid the truce in Gaza, violence has flared up in the West Bank. Funeral procession was taken out in Jenin for the 3 men out of 5 killed in Israeli raids. This included 2 militants, while 1 belonged to Hamas, the other one belonged to Palestinian Jihad. Palestinian ministry says 6 other Palestinians were injured during the shooting. Israel says it carried out the raid to detain a Palestinian involved in West Bank ambush in August. Hamas's military wing also confirmed on Sunday that its Northern Brigade commander Ahmed al-Gandour and 3 other senior leaders have been killed. However, the group did not reveal any more details about the incident. Until Saturday, 26 Israeli hostages have been released by Hamas, while Israel has released 78 Palestinian prisoners in the 2 releases already completed. In addition, the Palestinian militant group has also released 14 Thais and 1 Filipino so far. According to the deal agreed upon, Hamas is expected to release a total of 50 hostages during the 4-day truce in exchange for 150 Palestinian prisoners. Israel says for every additional release of 10 hostages, the truce could be extended for 1 more day.
Welcome. Welcome. Welcome.
Hamas freed 17 hostages held in Gaza, including a 4-year-old American girl on Sunday, while Israel was also seen releasing prisoners on the 3rd day of their truce.
Now the transfers under this truce that started on Friday have been the first relief for captive skins since the militants attacked Israel on the 7th of October, prompting Israeli bombardments. And while the clamor to extend the truce is growing, Israeli President Isaac Herzog has not ruled out the possibility of a coalition running Gaza, including the United States as well as the other nations.
Speaking to CNN, he said, and I'm quoting here, it was to be an interim process until there will be an exiting where we are all sure that Gaza is not anymore a terror base. Now, the International Committee of the Red Cross said that it had successfully transferred 17 hostages from Gaza on Sunday. Hamas said it had handed over 13 Israelis, 3 Thais and 1 with Russian citizenship. It said that the Russian-Israeli Ron Krivoy was freed in response to the efforts of the Russian President Vladimir Putin and his support of the Palestinian cause.
Now, Sunday's release brings the total number of freed hostages to 63 from around 240 that were taken to Gaza after the October 7th attacks by Hamas. Israel has faced mounting pressure to extend the pause, mediated by Qatar, the United States and Egypt.
A source close to Hamas told news agency AFP that the Islamist movement was willing to prolong the pause. As per the source, Hamas informed the mediators that the resistance movements were willing to extend the current truce by 2 to 4 days. Now, the source further added that the resistance believes it is possible to ensure the release of 20 to 40 Israeli prisoners in that time. Under the truce, 50 hostages held by the militants are to be freed over 4 days in exchange for 150 Palestinian prisoners, and a built-in mechanism extends it if at least 10 Israeli captives are released each day by Hamas.
Now, Israeli leaders have tempered hopes of a lasting halt to this offensive in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, and I'm quoting here, "We continue until the end, until victory." He spoke while making the first visit to Gaza by an Israeli premier since 2005.
אני פה להגיד לחברים כאן, הלוחמים כאן, שאומרים לי את אותם הדברים, ואני חוזר ואומר את זה לכם, אזרחי ישראל. אנחנו ממשיכים עד הסוף, עד הניצחון.
In the southern Gaza city of Khan Yunis, residents received a text message from Israeli forces that said that they know hostages are being held there. The message stated that the Israeli army will neutralize anyone who has kidnapped hostages. As per CNN, Israel's war cabinet discussed the possibility of truce extension as well.
Now, speaking on the hostage crisis with his German counterpart, the Israeli president hit out at the Irish PM and others. He accused some world leaders, including those from Europe, of maintaining what he dubbed double standards and a level of hypocrisy. On the third day of their 4-day truce, Hamas released a third group of 17 hostages held in Gaza in exchange for 39 Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli prisons. Hamas said that it had handed over 13 Israelis, 3,001 US citizens to the International Committee of the Red Cross. Thousands of people carrying and draping themselves with Israeli flags gathered near the Hatzerim military base as they cheered on the arrival of hostages released from captivity from Gaza. In a video footage released by Hamas's armed wing, the hostages were handed over to the Red Cross, and according to Israeli media, 9 children were among those released.
החזרנו הערב עוד קבוצה של חטופים, ילדים ונשים, ואנחנו מתרגשים עד עומק ליבנו, העם כולו, כשרואים את האיחוד הזה של המשפחות, פשוט מרטיט את הנפש. דיברתי עכשיו עם הנשיא ביידן.
As per the initial medical examination report, all the hostages are in good condition. One of the elderly Israeli hostages was airlifted to a medical center. Apart from her, 9 children and 2 mothers were reported in stable condition and were undergoing medical and emotional evaluation by dedicated teams at Israel's Schneider Children's Hospital.
The physical condition of the children and the mothers that came to us is now stable. They are undergoing a medical and emotional evaluation by the medical and psychosocial team of the Schneider Children's Hospital. They are in a private and dedicated complex, and we ask you to respect their privacy.
Among the free hostages is a 4-year-old American-Israeli, Abigail Eden. Her release marks the first time an American hostage has been successfully freed since the start of the truce. Biden, who praised Eden's release in an address on Sunday, spoke with the girl's family on Sunday afternoon, according to the White House.
Abigail was among 13 hostages released today from Gaza under the brokered and sustained, though intensive, U.S. diplomacy. She's now safely in Israel, and we continue to press and expect for additional Americans will be released as well. And we will not stop working until every hostage is returned to their loved ones.
Meanwhile, the Palestine Liberation Organization's Prisoners Department published a list of 39 Palestinian prisoners released on Sunday evening, including 21 from Jerusalem, 1 from the Gaza Strip, and 17 from the West Bank. During the first day of the hostage release, Hamas released 24 hostages, including 13 Israelis, 10 people from Thailand, and a Filipino citizen. And with Sunday evening's release, the total number of hostages released now stands at 58 as part of the truce deal. Israel released 78 Palestinian security prisoners, with 39 released on both Sunday as well as Friday. The 4-day truce, the first halt since the war began 50 days ago, started on Friday. As per reports, Qatar, Egypt and the United States are pressing for the truce to be extended beyond Monday, but it's not clear whether that will materialize. Now, it's day 4 of the Gaza truce. Of course, we've been tracking all the developments. The temporary ceasefire has been holding so far despite minor skirmishes. Well, normalcy has started settling in the besieged strip. So now the question arises, what's next for Gaza?
بنعيش في أيام تهدئة، يعني بنسرق لحظات إنه نعمل شاي على النار في هذا الوقت اللي ما كنا قبل 4 أيام إنه نستطيع إنه نقعد في هذا الجو ونعمل شاي أو نتجول في هاي الباحة من ما تبقى لنا من بيت مقصوف.
The war has taken a massive toll on the besieged enclave. Around 15,000 have been killed in Gaza. 2/3 of those killed are women and children, and more than 1.6 million have been displaced, while swathes of land has been leveled in the strip. Many hospitals, schools, refugee camps and places of worship destroyed, as some Gazans started heading back to their homes in southern part of the strip. All they have found are piles of debris and rubble.
كان لا يوصف، جيت صرت أبكى أنا وعيالي والأولاد لما شافوا البيت متدمر، دم قلبي كلياته فيه محطوط دم. يعني أنا عمري 44 سنة وأنا في صف ثاني إعدادي كنت ألم بالشكل عشان ابن البيت هذا.
Now, the 4-day truce is being used by Gazans to fill up their reserves of essentials, as the region has been reeling under acute shortage of food, fuel, water and medicines. Many ventured out to local markets to buy necessities, while others lined up at fuel stations.
Now, as a part of the agreement, aid has been pouring into Gaza. 200 humanitarian aid trucks were sent to relief organizations in Gaza as on Sunday.
Israel says that the ground operation would resume after the truce ends. Displaced Gazans have not been allowed to head back home towards the north. Gaza residents say that Israeli army dropped leaflets warning people not to travel towards the north. But as the truce continues, Gazans are urging for the war to end.
هدنة هذه اللي صارت ال4 أيام، يعني احنا نتمنى من الله سبحانه وتعالى انها تصير طويلة المدى او ننتهي من هذه الحاجة اسمها حروب. احنا في الحروب يعني بنعيش يعني اوقات يعني صعبة جدا، وهذا يعني احنا يعني لما بدنا نيجي احنا نقول يعني في اثناء الحرب فيش عندنا في قطاع غزة مكان آمن من قبل الاحتلال الإسرائيلي.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met Israeli soldiers in Gaza. In his first visit to Gaza since the war began, Netanyahu asserted that his country would continue until it wins. However, what would an Israel victory look like for thousands of Gazans is yet to be seen, of course. Now, on the 3rd day of their 4-day truce, Hamas released a 3rd group of 17 hostages held in Gaza in exchange for 39 Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli prisons.
Now, Hamas said that it had handed over 13 Israelis, 3 Thais and 1 US citizen to the International Committee of the Red Cross. Thousands of people carrying and draping themselves with Israeli flags gathered near the Hatzerim military base as they cheered the arrival of hostages released from captivity.
In a video footage released by Hamas armed wing, the hostages were handed over to the Red Cross. According to Israeli media, though, 9 children were among the released.
החזרנו הערב עוד קבוצה של חטופים, ילדים ונשים, ואנחנו מתרגשים עד עומק ליבנו, העם כולו, כשרואים את האיחוד הזה של המשפחות, פשוט מרטיט את הנפש. דיברתי עכשיו עם הנשיא ביידן.
Now, as per the initial medical examination report, all the hostages are in good condition and one of the elderly Israeli hostages was airlifted to a medical center. Apart from that, 9 children, 2 mothers were reported in stable condition and were undergoing medical and emotional evaluation by dedicated teams at Israel's Schneider Children's Hospital.
The physical condition of the children and the mothers that came to us is now stable. They are undergoing a medical and emotional evaluation by the medical and psychosocial team of the Schneider Children's Hospital. They are in a private and dedicated complex, and we ask you to respect their privacy.
Among the free hostages is a 4-year-old American-Israeli Abigail Eden. Her release marks the first time an American hostage has been successfully freed since the start of the truce. Biden, who praised Eden's release in an address on Sunday, spoke with the girl's family on Sunday afternoon, according to the White House.
Abigail was among 13 hostages released today from Gaza under the brokered and sustained, though intensive U.S. diplomacy. She's now safely in Israel, and we continue to press and expect for additional Americans will be released as well. And we will not stop working until every hostage is returned to their loved ones.
Meanwhile, the Palestine Liberation Organization's Prisoners Department had published a list of 39 Palestinian prisoners released on Sunday evening, including 21 from Jerusalem, 1 from the Gaza Strip and 17 from the West Bank.
Now, during the first day of the hostage release, Hamas released 24 hostages, including 13 Israelis, 10 people from Thailand and a Filipino citizen. And with Sunday evening's release, the total number of hostages released now stands at 58 as part of the truce deal. Israel has released 78 Palestinian security prisoners, with 39 released on both Sunday and Friday.
Now, the 4-day truce, the first halt since the war began 50 days ago, started on Friday. As per reports, Qatar, Egypt and the United States are pressing for the truce to be extended beyond Monday. But it's not clear whether that will happen. Now, for more on this, we're being joined by Lester Munson, Senior Fellow, National Security Institute, Principal International Practice at the BGR Group, is joining us live from Washington, D.C. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on World DNA.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now, sir, Qatar, Egypt, the United States are pressing for this truce to be extended. Hamas, too, has shown its willingness to extend this truce to secure the release of more prisoners. However, Israel at this point appears to be adamant that it will continue with its operations. How do you see things unfolding on that front? Do you think a longer pause in this fight is in the offing?
Well, I do think fighting will resume at a certain point. I don't think it'll be in the very near future. The government in Israel has been pretty much marching in lockstep with Washington on these issues. When President Biden urges Prime Minister Netanyahu to do certain things, we see those things happen. So I strongly suspect